I'm particularly delighted to have an opportunity to say a few words about this year's winner of the Oran Prize, and for several reasons. Sandra Vanderhel's essay offers a particularly insightful and I think innovative perspective on science as a social activity, and in fact science as a political activity. Also, she has chosen to focus on Future Earth, which is a programmatic initiative with which the Earth System Governance Project is associated. And she focuses on questions of governance, which of course is the area where Earth System Governance has a particular expertise. So why should we think about governance when we think about a project or an initiative like Future Earth? After all, there's a sense in which many people think that science doesn't really require governance. Science is an activity engaged in by curiosity-driven scientists who don't worry about the results of their scientific work and assume that someone else will figure out the relevance of science. But Future Earth is a different kind of scientific activity. It's aimed at delivering science for global sustainability in a rather focused way over a relatively short period of time, like a decade. People have talked about it as something like an Apollo project for science for sustainability. And this raises a couple of important needs for governance. One is science for sustainability in the Anthropocene makes it critical to find ways to combine, to integrate the work of natural scientists and the work of social scientists. So there's a need for steering, there's a need for governance to achieve this integration. There's also a need for governance to deal with questions of the relationship between science and policy. What we talk about is a new contract between science and the policy community, or science and society. And so there really are questions of governance in talking about Future Earth. So Sandra's paper begins to explore, to delve into the governance questions around the development of the Future Earth initiative. She explains why it has proven to be a rather long and difficult process to create an effective governance system for Future Earth. And this is where her analysis of the various logics of science, the logic of accountability, the logic of impact, and the logic of humility comes into play. As she points out, there are often trade-offs, or there are issues of incompatibility between these several logics. And in the development of the Future Earth initiative, it hasn't been entirely clear what the trade-off should be among these several logics. But there are also other reasons why governance has become a difficult problem for the Future Earth initiative. Sustainable development is not exactly an easily measurable kind of goal or objective. If you think about the Apollo project, for example, it was to land a man on the moon by the end of the decade of the 1960s. We could tell for sure whether we were going to be able to achieve that goal. But if we say we want to achieve sustainability in the Anthropocene, the concept, the conception of our goal is quite slippery. So that makes it difficult to know how to create a governance system. Students of governance also know that there are some other kinds of difficulties that need to be addressed in developing governance systems, like having a coherent and easily stated narrative, like having sufficient commitment of resources, like having adequate leadership. And in all these cases, it's proven to be difficult to develop an effective governance system for the Future Earth initiative. So this brings us to conclude these remarks to one of the interesting implications of Sandra Vanderhel's essay, that we, the governance community and the Earth System Governance Project, have a lot to say, have a lot to contribute to the development of the Future Earth Initiative, of which our project is a part. And so she suggests, I think, in an important way that we actually are not only a project of Future Earth, but as a project of Future Earth, we may be able to make a particularly important contribution to suggesting ways to strengthen and improve the governance of the Future Earth project itself.